Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Gradeup. Welcome to your exclusive MBA channel on YouTube, where we're going to continue our discussion of past CAT papers. We're going to do VARC Shift 2, the first part of Shift 2. If you remember, in the last few classes, we have completed Shift 1. I did the passages for you, and I'm sure my colleague Sanujam must have covered the para jumbles and the summaries, right? So today again we back to shift 2. Now compare, if you remember the questions in shift 1, the passages, the genres, you would be in a very good position to see how identical shift 2 is to shift 1. All right, and degree of difficulty is almost the same, though I would still think that there was yeah, it was almost the same. There's not much to choose. I still felt that 2 was probably a tad easier than 1. Right, so how many of you here? Let me get a heads up before we start. How many of you in the class? Let me get a heads up before I start the class. Even if no one is there, I'll start it. All right. You have heard about 3 things, of course, we'd say before every session, whether it's YouTube, free app, or a paid session, that we are having a lot of classes on various channels. We have free classes on YouTube, we have free classes on our app, and we have paid courses which are a detailed step-by-step syllabus-wise discussion of every aspect of CAT. So we would request all of you who are learning anything to please subscribe, who are aspiring to sit for CAT this year, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, number 1. Download the latest version of the Gradeup app, and of course do join our courses. If you like the lesson, especially if you like the lesson today, do subscribe, press the bell, and do press the like button. Your feedback goes a long way for all of us. All right. At Gradeup, we have a lot of courses happening for CAT, for CLAT, for a lot of other exams. Now, if you are a CAT aspirant, you might sometimes wonder, like, what course is good for us? Of course, you can call our counselors and they'll help you decide which type of course is better for you. Also, we have something called the Gradeup Super. It's a subscription offer that gives you unlimited access to all the courses in one category. So if you are a CAT aspirant, you get unlimited access to all the courses under our CAT and other MBA exams. All right, and you can choose the validity, 3 months, 6 months, 18 months. A lot of students have taken it. They're very happy with the super subscription. So do look at it and get a super subscription yourself. All right, shall we start? All right, now when we'll do it the same way that we have discussed slot 1. I will show you the passage for about 30 to 45 seconds, and then I will summarize it for you, and then we move on to the next slide. No, I will summarize the passage for you once all the slides are done. All right, so your 45 seconds for this slide starts now. All right, next slide. Okay, next slide. Good afternoon, Rahul. So we're on to the last slide almost. Good afternoon, Kumar. We're on to the last slide of the first paragraph. I'll summarize a first passage. I'll summarize it for you. All right. Now, if we read the passages now from the first slide, the first one is about capital cities and should capital cities be shifted to smaller places. All right. So the author says that capital cities are disgorging bureaucrats. That means they are throwing them out. In the post-colonial fervor of the 20th century, coastal capitals picked up by trade-focused empire were spurned for regionally neutral new ones. So he says that earlier, 20th century coastal, in the post-colonial fervor of the 20th century, those capitals which were earlier picked up by trade-focused empires. Earlier, empires were focused on trade, so they picked up coastal capitals. These coastal capitals were spurned by regionally neutral new ones. Okay, but decamping, leaving a place wholesale, is costly and unpopular. So government these days prefer piecemeal disposal. Instead of changing the entire capital, instead of totally decamping as in leaving and totally, they are doing it in bits and pieces. This trend reflects the change that we are seeing in the world. Why? In the past eras, information traveled very slow, so civil servants had to stay together. But now, because of emails and video chats around the world, it's easy. So travel for face-to-face meetings may be unavoidable, but transport links have improved and modes of communications have become faster. Therefore, it's not important that all civil servants be at one place. Second part, he says, proponents of moving civil servants, those who support this idea of moving civil servants around, they say there are countless benefits. What are they? It disperses the risk that a terrorist attack or a natural disaster will cripple an entire government. Wonks in the sticks, people who are excited by things which are not normally exciting for others, they are called wonks in the sticks, will be inspired by new ideas. Autonomous regulators perform best far from the pressure and lobbies of the big city. So when you have bureaucrats away from the big city, they perform better, they are more autonomous, and some even hail a cure for cynicism and populism. So these are all the advantages. The unloved bureaucrats of faraway capitals will become very popular as firefighters once they mix with regular folks. So when they are in the cities, they are not taken care of, they are not really given that much respect. But when they go to faraway places from the capitals, they will become very popular. Okay, these are the reasons that are put forward by people who say the civil servants should move away from the central capitals. Beyond these sunny visions, dispersing central government functions usually has three specific aims. These are all fine, idealistic sunny visions, but the real reason why central government functions what is the main purpose of central government function is to why do they move the civil servants around? To improve the lives of both the civil servants and those living in clogged capitals. Capitals are all clogged, crowded, overcrowded, stuffed, and that to make life better, to save money, and to redress regional imbalances. Okay, one is that the cities are too crowded, so we need to ease the pressure on them. Second, of course, is to save money, because cities are more expensive. Central cities are more expensive. And third is regional imbalances. You know, everybody goes to Delhi, what will happen to the other areas of India? So there is a redressal of regional imbalances. Excuse me. The author says, but the trouble is that these goals are not always realized. These goals are fine, they're good on paper, but they're not always realized. The first aim is to improve living conditions. It has a long pedigree. That means it has a long story and past. Pedigree is tracing back your lineage. And so this improving living conditions, this aim has a long history. From the Second World War, when Britain moved thousands of civil servants to agreeable English country towns when London was being rebuilt. But the swapping of capital from somewhere smaller is not always agreeable. All right. The second reason, attrition rates can exceed 80%. So when you move to your capital, your workplace, to faraway places, people will leave work. Attrition rate will exceed 80%. Oh, you're moving, I'll also move. I don't want to go to the village or wherever you want to send me, I'm going to leave the job. So attrition rates increase. Second reason is to pack bureaucrats off is to save money. Office space costs far more in capitals. Agencies that have moved elsewhere can often recruit better workers on lower salaries than in capitals, where well-paying multinationals mop up talent. So the other reason is that in the cities you have multinationals which pay a lot of money and get a lot of talent, but if you move otherwise to other places, you can get a better workforce at a lower salary. The third reason to shift is to rebalance regional inequality. Then he gives the example of Norway. He says Norway treats federal jobs as a resource every region deserves to enjoy, like profits from oil. So where government jobs go, private ones will follow. So the moment the government opens something, private people also would follow. Sometimes the aim is to fulfill the potential of second-tier cities. Unlike poor remote places, bigger cities can make most of relocated government agencies. Now, in a bigger city, when there is a government agency, the bigger cities links these agencies to businesses, to suppliers, to universities and things like that. All right. The decision in 1946 to set up America's Center for Disease Control in Atlanta rather than Washington, D.C. transformed the city totally. It has now become a hub for health sector research and business. All right. Now the second, there is this dilemma. Therefore, what is the dilemma? Do you pick small, poor towns and areas of high employment to get new jobs? Does the government do that? But it's hard to attract the most qualified workers there. You choose a remote place where there's high unemployment, people will join you, but do you get the best people? Second part is, would you rather stay in a larger city where the infrastructure is there, you get better qualified people, but when you do that, the other areas don't get any benefits. Then he comes to the other negative of moving to a smaller city. Decentralization begets corruption. When you decentralize, you actually encouraging corruption. Why? Because you're making the government agencies far from the center less accountable. A study in America therefore found that state government corruption is worse than when the state capital is isolated, because journalists who are supposed to be watchdogs to see what's happening, they stay in the bigger cities. They're not bothered to go to the smaller cities. So they become less watchful of those in power when they go to the smaller cities. Good example, similar to the squatter city passage in the first slot. All right, according to the passage, colonial powers located their capitals where? The coastal capitals of colonial cities. Look at the options quickly and I'll take you back to tell me which paragraph to take you to. He says, in the past, this is where the capitals were located, but now all that has changed. So it's right at the beginning, right? Look at the answer options and I'll take you back to the passage. Have you seen your answers? Okay, let's look at the passage. In the post-colonial fervor of the 20th century, Coastal capitals picked by trade-focused empires were spurned. That means the colonial cities were more or less trade-focused empires. So their capitals were therefore coastal. So what was the reason they located their capitals on the coast? What was the reason? A, to showcase their power and prestige. B, they had the densest populations. C, based on political expediency. Or D, to promote their trade. What would your answer be? Quickly type in your answers. Is it A, B, C, or D? Trade focused coastal capitals. Therefore, the answer will be obviously to promote their trade, right? So the answer for question 1 is D. Do you all agree or not? Heads up, guys. Give me at least a good. All right. I like your name, Cartoon World. All right. D is the right answer. All of you agree? Yeah, trade focused. So they seem to be concentrating on their trade. Kumar, Ashi, all of you gave their answer. Perfect. Perfect. All right. I'll give you more time for 2 then. The dilemma mentioned in the passage refers to. Now quickly look at the options for 15 seconds and I'll take you back to the passage where he shows the word dilemma. All right. Keeping government agencies in the largest cities with good infrastructure or moving them to a remote area with few amenities. Concentrating on decongesting large cities or focusing on boosting employment in relatively larger cities. Encouraging private enterprises to relocate to smaller towns or not incentivizing them in order to keep government costs in those towns low. Relocating government agencies to boost growth in remote areas with poor amenities or to relatively larger cities with good amenities. All right. Now let's go back to where he talks about the dilemma. Here. I'll show you the answer options again. Just read this paragraph carefully. Then what is the dilemma? You find out. All right, now I'll show you the answer options. Which answer option is correct? Is it A, B, C, or D? Give me the question number. Is it A, keeping the government agencies in the largest city? He has talked about larger cities versus small towns. So obviously he is not talking of the dilemma between largest city with good infrastructure. So okay, Shrija has come up with an answer. A is wrong. Shrija thinks it's D. Let's see. Concentrating on decongesting large cities or focusing in boosting employment in relatively larger cities? No, the dilemma is between large cities and remote cities. Okay, Kumar also thinks it's D. Private enterprise has not been mentioned. Therefore, obviously, question is, should the government agencies be there in the poorer and the faraway places, or should it Ashi, he is not making the comparison is between large and smaller remote places, right? B is talking about the comparison between the dilemma between large and larger, which is obviously wrong. Understood. The dilemma is between should you go to the central cities, which are large, or should you go to the remote, smaller cities. Option B says, should you go to a large city or a larger city? Not correct. So B is wrong. C is totally wrong, no, Cartoon World. It says private enterprises to relocate to smaller towns. He's not talking of private enterprises. The entire passage is talking about government shifting its capital and its bureaucrats. That's the option. Therefore, C is wrong. Therefore, the correct answer is obviously D. Got it, all of you? Clear? All right. Let's move to question 3. People who support decentralizing central government functions. Okay. So those who are promoting, those who are supporting decentralizing central government functions, saying send the bureaucrats to the remote areas, they are least likely to cite which of the following reasons. So they would obviously talk of the advantages of decentralization or sending the bureaucrats to remote places. So obviously, which one will they least support? One which does not talk of the advantage of decentralization or talks of a negative of decentralization, right? So which answer will it be? Is it A, more independence could be enjoyed by regulatory bodies located away from political centers? This has been cited as an advantage, that regulatory bodies can have more independence, more autonomy. Policy makers may benefit from fresh thinking. Wonks in the stick, he says. So he does talk about suddenly you put them in another environment, they may come up with fresh and new ideas. It reduces expenses as infrastructure costs and salaries are lower in smaller cities. Definitely he would agree. Why would he talk about D? It would weaken the nexus between bureaucrats and media in the capital. He has actually said in the capital the media is alert, therefore there is no corruption. But when you move to the remote places, the bureaucrats sit in the cities and they would not look at people in power in the remote cities. So D is something that the author is not likely to say. Got it? Therefore answer for 3 is D. Got it? Did you understand why it is D? All of you? Okay? All right. Good. Question 4. The long pedigree of the aim to shift civil service servants to improve their living standards implies, this is an indirect imply question. He says this aim to shift civil servants to improve their living standards, good afternoon Prasanna, has a long pedigree. What does that mean? What does this term long, it has a long pedigree? What does this statement imply? It is not a new idea and has been tried in the past. It has become common practice in several countries worldwide. It is supported by politicians and the ruling elite. It takes a long time to achieve its intended outcome. Which one do you think is the correct option? Please type in your answers quickly. Shall I take you back to the passage? What's the answer? Yeah. Long pedigree. What is the... Okay. Here. Now remember, when you don't know what it means, when an author uses a term, people buy dogs, horses based on the pedigree. Long pedigree means your lineage, okay? Father, grandfather, great-grandfather, long, that's called a pedigree. Or at Saif Ali Khan's pedigree, okay? Nawab of Pataudi, his father, all played cricket. This guy never played cricket. Maybe he played when he was. So that is the meaning, literal meaning of pedigree. But here he says this aim has a long pedigree means obviously he means long history. Why? he has given you immediately after that. He said, after the Second World War itself, Britain started. This is not something new. It has a long pedigree. It has a long history. After the Second World War itself, Britain moved thousands of its civil servants to other English country towns because London was being rebuilt. All right. So long pedigree does not therefore mean D. It does not mean it takes a long time. It means it has a long history. It's not a new idea. It has been started. It had been tried in the past. And he gives the example of Britain after the Second World War, when most of London was bombed out, right? A lot of parts of London were bombed out. So what did Britain do? It rebuilt London. And when it was rebuilding London, a lot of its officers were sent to other places. So this aim to shift civil servants has a long pedigree. It has a long history. Therefore, the correct answer is not D, it is A. Understood? All right. Next question. According to the author, relocating government agencies has not always been a success for all of the following reasons except. That means 3 options will give you reasons given by the author, and 1 option will not give a reason given by the author. So you don't have to go back to the passage for this, because it's very, very clear. All right, somebody has already got the answer. I will not tell you. Others, let them come in the answer. I'll tell you. Yeah. Question 5. That 4 is done. Now come to question 5. The author has said that relocation, there are all good reasons, all nice, very what did he call them, shiny visions, but it has not always worked out. All right, so he has given reasons why it has not worked out. Let's look at why it has not worked out. What are the reasons he gave us? Okay, Shrija has already given an answer. Okay. Okay. But swapping the capital for somewhere smaller is not always agreeable. Why is it not agreeable? Number 1, attrition rates can exceed 80%. Attrition rates means people will leave the job. When you ask them to move to a smaller place, people will lose the job. So attrition is one reason. Second reason is to save money. Okay, and agencies feel that they can recruit better workers on lower salaries. Third reason is to shift regional inequality. All right, but it hasn't always worked out because 1, attrition rates have been very high. Second, the difficult attrition rate here. Okay, next he's talked about increasing avenues of corruption away from the capital city. Where has he talked of corruption? Here. State, others contrary, decentralization begets corruption by making government agencies less accountable. So he has talked about corruption, the second reason given in the option. Third one, areas of high unemployment, but it is hard to attract the most qualified workers. All right, so he's talked about that. He's talked about so many. Okay, so let's look at what are the reasons given here. Increased avenues for corruption, yes, he has mentioned. Difficulty of attracting talent, he has mentioned, but he has not mentioned rise of pollution and congestion in the new locations. Definitely not. Therefore, A is the answer. All right, excellent. Okay, so these were the 5 questions. If you had faced this in 2019 slot 2 afternoon slot, you could have done most of them correct. Easy passage, very easy questions. You just had to cross check 1 or 2 answers. Let's see what the next passage has in store for you. Again, I'll give you 30 to 45 seconds per slide. But I will not recap it for you this time because the first time when you had joined in late, your time starts now. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. All right. Did you read it? Do you want to read it one more time, or I can show the questions? Let's go to the questions. Based on his views mentioned in the passage, what could you categorize Dr. Wottrell as being? Read all four options and I'll take you back to Wottrell and his opposition. Opposed to the use of digital technology in the archaeological and cultural sites in developing countries. Do you think he's opposed to the use of digital technology in archaeological and cultural sites? Dismissing of lay people's access to specialist images of archaeological and cultural sites? Uneasy about the marketing of archaeological images for commercial use by firms such as Google and CyArk? Or critical about the links between a non-profit and a commercial tech platform for distributing archaeological images? All right, so let's go back to Wottrell and what he says. Here we start with Ethan Wottrell here. Ethan Wottrell, an archaeologist, professor at Michigan State University and member of Society for American Archaeology, says he is not comfortable with the arrangement between CyArk and Google. He says this project, so some people would then mark C uneasy about the relationship between, what does he say? Uneasy about the marketing of, this is where, uneasy about the marketing of archaeological images. He has not talked about the marketing of archaeological images. What is he uneasy about? The arrangement between CyArk and Google. And what is the arrangement? He says it's just a way where Google is promoting itself. It's about advertisements and driving traffic. These images belong on the site of a museum or an educational institution. There's another issue, okay, and that is that CyArk owns the copyright, not the countries where this is for others. So he is saying he is not happy about the relationship between CyArk and Google. He believes that Google is only using it to promote itself. It's about advertisements, it's about driving traffic, but these images belong to a museum or an educational institution. So question is Wottrell uneasy about the marketing of archaeological images by firms, or is it D, critical about the links? No, he is not opposed to the use of digital technology. His opposition, it's not A, Shrija, because his opposition is not to the use of digital technology. His opposition, his criticism is about this Google CyArk relationship. So is it C or is it D is what you have to look at. Because he says, I'm not happy, I'm not comfortable with Google and CyArk coming together. Google says it is doing this, but actually what it is doing is it's promoting itself. It's only about its advertisement. So he is critical about it. He knows that they are not doing it for any great, altruistic motive in it. They are doing it for their own self. So he's critical. All right. Next, question 7. What does the author, critics of CyArk and Google projects, call the CyArk Google project digital colonization? What are they referring to when they are saying digital colonization? Is it A, CyArk and Google have been scanning images without copyright permission from the host countries? Has he mentioned this anywhere? The scanning process can damage delicate frescoes and statues. Have they said that anywhere? Countries where the scan sites are located do not own the scan copyrights, or is it CyArk and Google have not shared the details of digitization with host countries? Okay, let's go back to where he used the word digital colonization. The problem is Google's motivation and who should own the digital copyrights. This, the critics call a form of digital colonization. Therefore, the answer is that they own the copyrights, not the country where the Taj Mahal, they will scan pictures, they will keep the pictures, we don't have copyright over the pictures. That is what is bothering. That is what is the meaning of digital colonization. All right, C. Excellent. Question 8. Which one would strongly invalidate or weaken Dr. Vattrell's objection? His objection is to Google and CyArk have the copyright. The countries where these archaeological features are there don't have the copyright. And Google says, no, we have the copyright thing only so that they're not used inappropriately, right? So which one would weaken his objections most? Is it A, Google takes down advertisements on its website hosting CyArk scanned images? There is a ban on CyArk scanning archaeological sites located in other countries. CyArk does not own the copyright of scanned images of archaeological sites. CyArk uploads its scanned images of archaeological sites onto museum websites only. Which one would most strongly invalidate his objections? What is his objection here? Remember, we have two people. We have Vattrell and we have Eric Thompson. So you need to go back. What does Vattrell say? That these images belong on the site of him. It's all about, Vattrell doesn't talk about copyright. He says that it's all to aid Google's advertisements and traffic. These images belong on the site of a museum or an educational institution rather than on Google. So when would his objections be most invalidated? Which option? Therefore it is D. Remember, C is for the other guy. Thompson said that raised the issue of copyright. Vattrell's objections are not to copyright. He says, oh, serious scholarship, every layperson doesn't understand, that type of thing. Therefore, for 8 it will be D. That is Vattrell's objection. They belong to a museum site. They belong to a academic scholarly site, not Google. That's where you get the answer. Okay. All right. Question 9. Now we are going to the other guy, Thompson. In Dr. Thompson's view, CyArk's owning the copyright is akin to what? The building is in my country, but CyArk owns the copyright to it. So it is similar to what? Which of these situations? This is called a further application question. So think, understand what he said, and then look at the options. Tourists uploading photos of a monument onto social media, seizing of ancient Italian artifacts by a Western museum, the illegal downloading of content from the internet, or digital platforms capturing user data for market research. Which one says you are taking our buildings and you own copyright for the images of our buildings? Which option goes closest to Thompson's objection? Quickly, guys, answer for 9. The building is mine, but I don't own the copyright of its images. Which one is similar to that? Tourists uploading photos of monuments, tourists are not owning it, so there's no ownership copyright issue here, right? Digital platform for marketing research also isn't. It's my information that you are using. Illegal downloading, this is mine, but you have taken it. Cannot be D. Digital platform is they are using your data, but they're not saying it's theirs. They're not claiming ownership. You understand? Srija and Cartoon World, it cannot be D. The digital platforms are not claiming ownership of your data. They're just using it for research. They're taking your data illegally, but using it for research. This is a case where what you're doing is you're scanning my archaeological sites, but you have the copyright. So I should be the owner, but by having the copyright, you have become the virtual owner. The same thing as you've taken an artifact from Egypt and put it in your museum. It belongs to me, but it's yours. The building belongs to me, but this image copyright belongs to you. So the answer is B. Understood? Okay, last question of the set. Understand the question. Lot of students last year made the silliest mistake on this question because they didn't understand what the question was asking. So try to understand what the question is asking and you'll get the answer easily. I am digitally scanning cultural sites. What would I justify? Why am I scanning the digits? I'm trying to convince you, aapke bhala ke liye. I'm doing it for your own good. So I look at 3 options which the company would say. Which one would be a critical of the company? It will not use that argument. So it enables people, you know what, I'm digitally scanning cultural sites. So if you cannot physically visit the site, you can come to my site and still see it. True. You know, these precious images are being destroyed by war, like ISIS blowing up something, by natural disasters, and I am scanning it and keeping it for posterity. So I am actually doing you a favor. B will also help. I am giving this to you free of cost. So think of how generous I am. But it will never say that, look, I am doing this because it allows me to act as a protector of culture. It's not going to say that. It's using what argument is it going to use. It will say, you know what, if you can't go, I can scan the picture for you. It can tell you that I'm only preserving pictures. It can tell you, look, I'm doing it free of cost. I'm giving it to you for no payment. But it's not going to say, see, look, I'm doing it because I'm a protector of culture. I want to project myself as a protector of culture. It's not going to say that. Argument is it, what is it going to say clearly to everybody? So it's not going to say, see, which one of the following arguments, which one is least likely to be used? So these are the 3 things they're going to tell you to convince you that we are good. It's not going to say we are doing it to project ourselves as protectors of culture. So the answer is C, not D. right? Did you understand, Prasanna and Shrija, why it is C? What argument, what are they going to say to protect themselves, to protect, to justify their actions, right? All right, before we end, there are a lot of important announcements. I'll do it really quickly for you. As you know, we're going to start off the CAT 2021 series, and we're doing a lot of short series for you to get acquainted with the test, to get acquainted with what you need to do. We've covered 3 so far. Today at 5 there is a session on quant, and tomorrow would be an overall picture of the preparation strategy. So I would strongly advise you to watch those sessions. All right, at present we have CAT 2021 comprehensive course enrollment going on. All right, on 12th of October we started a new batch, and you have lot of advantages. The most exciting part for me is the last one, that we don't leave you when CAT ends, we don't let go. We'll guide you till you actually convert your call into a seat. These are the 2 things that we have in the course structure. We have a foundation module, building of basics, and then we have advanced classes and doubt sections, which are questions and discussions of the MBA level. The foundation level would be easier, where we actually clear your basics. All right, so any doubts on that, any questions and queries on that, call up the number on your screen. All right, we have lots of mock tests, sections, quizzes, PPTs, doubt sections, and of course we have a Gradeup community, which fantastic team sitting there and keeping you updated on the latest that's happening, and a lot is happening on Gradeup. I call our team the Dream 11. Okay, as you know, I love watching cricket. Pranav, Jatin, Vikas, Vijay, Ashish, and I'm Savitri Krishnamurthy. We all would be taking different aspects of your CAT syllabus, along with Sanojam, Anant, Ajay Sareen, Tapesh, and Vikrant Kathuria. All right, we have 2 new members, both stars. Saral Nashier, I know him for a long time. He was fantastic in quant and LRDI. Very few people who can match his skills, and very happy and proud to have him on the team, as I am of Anurag Agarwal. All right, so do join our courses, tell your friends about it, subscribe to our channel, share the video with your friends, and join us for our classes on YouTube, on our app, and of course our course classes. All right, do find out about Gradeup Super. People very happy with it. Gives you access to all the courses under the MBA category. All right, look at it. Choose the validity that is most useful and convenient for you. If you're confused, talk to our counselors. I will see you very soon. Till then, all the best. Take care. Stay home and stay safe. All right. Okay. I will see you very soon for part 2 of the 2019 paper. Bye-bye.